Okay, so who can tell me how these Jabberwocky tape recorder things work? The Hunger Games' latest movie is called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and stars Tom Blythe as a young President Snow. This is President Snow before he becomes the old douchey guy that we know from the original movies who likes to watch kids kill each other. Some of the things about this movie that worked right away were Viola Davis. She does great. Her makeup is great. She's creepy. She's coming off as this nefarious character. She is basically the person who ends up becoming the inspiration for the President Snow we all know, and she does great. She knocks it out of the park. She's easily one of the best characters in this movie. Peter Dinklage is in this. I haven't seen much from him since Game of Thrones. He plays a man who has disdain for Cornelia Snow, and he does this with perfect precision. Rachel Zegler plays a tribute in this movie who has been selected to fight in the Hunger Games, and Cornelia Snow is actually selected to be her mentor. It is his hope that with her winning the Hunger Games, he will move up in the Capitol ranks. The first half of this movie worked pretty well for me. I was enjoying it. I was glad to see the Hunger Games back. I was excited to be back in this world and see the original version of the Hunger Games, because the Hunger Games in this movie is not the prestigious thing with the cool tower. It doesn't look, there's no skyline, there's no awesome backdrops, there's no different scenes. It's more bare bones. This is just a coliseum where people are standing, they're fighting, and it's much more smaller contained. There's a lot less space to hide. Everything in this movie was a little bit dated. The drones in this movie were not even as good as the ones in the original movie. You'd order something and then suddenly it would be delivering it and it would crash and you would not get your item. So it was cool seeing that things weren't always so high-tech. I mean, they still had some pretty good technology. Those drones were still not bad. They're still better than anything we have going on right now. But now where the movie started falling off was after the Hunger Games ended. For some reason, this movie just lost its path. It suddenly decided, okay, now we need to fast forward. We need to have everybody get to the point where President Snow is the bad guy. So it felt unearned and quite rushed. Throughout the whole movie, Cornelia Snow was played as kind of a nice guy. He actually cared about this tribute. He was trying to help her win. And I think it wasn't just for greed. I could tell that he cared about her. He was actually falling in love with her. So after the Hunger Games ends and he ends up getting into a situation where he ends up making a choice, all of a sudden people start looking at him differently. And I just felt like, how did they come from finding this guy to be kind of heroic? How does Rachel Zegler's character go from finding this guy to be heroic to suddenly he's the bad guy? It just felt unearned. It felt rushed. This movie's 2 hours and 37 minutes, and yet somehow I felt like I was sitting there just checking my watch, wondering, when is this movie going to end? It kept dragging. I wasn't enjoying it after the second act of this movie. Beginning of the video, I mentioned Jabberwocky, and that is just one thing I want to talk about, actually. It just didn't make any sense. There's this bird that apparently, it's supposed to imitate everything you say. That's fine. I remember that from the original movies. But in this movie, there's like literally a switch you could turn off and on, and you can turn off and on when to record with this bird. Is the bird still a bird, or is it some kind of a tape recorder? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I guess maybe I'm not familiar enough with the story, maybe the books explained it more, but in the movie it came off as, okay, this bird is literally just a speaker and that's it. James Newton Howard is back as the composer for this movie. He's an excellent composer. It was cool to hear some familiar notes from the original series, but what was disappointing is that they brought him back just to have him compose this piece of... Francis Lawrence is the director of this movie. He's the one who directed the previous movies. I was expecting this movie to have the same quality since you had most of the same creators coming behind this, but this movie, I don't know if the source material just isn't as good, but this movie just did not deliver. It was long, it dragged out, it lost its path. Overall, I can't recommend this movie. I would say that this is probably worth watching at home. If you have the streaming service eventually, this is going to come out. Wait for it to come out on digital. Don't pay the $20. I would recommend waiting until it's on like $5 rental. It definitely is not as good as the original movies, and all it really made me do is want to go back and watch the ones with Jennifer Lawrence. I now have more of an appreciation for the original movies. If you feel like you're missing this world and you want to go back, just go back and watch the original. So what are your guys' thoughts? Did you guys like this movie? Did it live up to the original movies, or is it not as good? Do you think like I did? Do you think that there was some missed opportunity here, or did it give you the same satisfaction and you were happy to be back? If you liked this review and you want to see more, be sure to hit like and subscribe. This is a brand new channel. I have a lot of room to grow, and I need your help to do it. Let's get there.